Hello, welcome back to Al Talks. This podcast I started 3 years ago to chronicle me starting stand up. This podcast is a weekly podcast. It comes out once a week, and this is just a small little introduction video into the podcast. So, down below in the description of each episode, you can go to my Linktree and find links to everything connected to me. This podcast is available on YouTube, which you're watching it on right now, and also on Spotify. But yeah, that is just a small introduction into this podcast and everything that goes along with it.
Hello, welcome back to another podcast episode. What do I want to talk about today? Remember him? He's still alive. Barely, but alive. Now, yes, two things. So I did a performance at Circle Sessions, and it was very, very enjoyable, very fun, good audience participation because they laughed, great success, and a joke that I played around with for a very long time that wouldn't work finally works. So great success. It was fantastic. And the other point, no, it was a good show. Um, Stuff really worked out, which I was happy with. Circle Sessions is a very unique experience because there is no microphone, but I am a loud motherfucker, so people hear me anyway. I think the first time I performed there, once I realized there was no microphone, because it's not an open mic because there's no microphone, so it's just an open stage. It is a mixed open stage performance. So there's poets, there's comedians, there's music, there's rappers. A lot of comedians don't feel comfortable performing there because it's a mixed performance show, but I find that it works really well for honing your craft because if you can perform well in front of audiences that are not necessarily there to experience comedy and you can make them laugh, that makes you an awful lot better comedian, in my opinion. But that's just my opinion. I hope it's correct. But yeah, so that's yeah, it was an enjoyable. Tried. It was just it even did a little bit of crowd work, which is if you listen to the podcast, will know that I don't really do because it ruin. Well, it doesn't ruin comedy, but it can invite chaos, which is not needed. But the other thing was something that hadn't really. I do it sometimes, but not an awful lot. It was just a fellow comedian's birthday and went out, hung out with a couple of comics. Now, if you've again, if you're new to the podcast or haven't listened before, but if you have, you will know that I love nothing more than joining out my fellow comics, especially comedians who I haven't met before. So there was a few there that night, and we just had, great time. I had conversations with them. I told them about myself, and they told me about them, and it was so fun because, like I said, these are people I haven't met before, and I think we are going to get along like a house on fire in the future because we have similar tastes in comedy and we find similar stuff funny. And there's one dude I think I mentioned a couple of weeks back that has a similar laugh to mine, so he's one of the new people that has a similar laugh. Like I said, there's about four of us. So the numbers are growing. The club, we're gonna get jackets that actually be like those varsity ones that says best laugher in the Dublin comedy scene. That'll be funny. And oh yeah, I suppose it would be a good time to slide this one in. Um, a fellow comedian that I have known since I think the second or third show I ever did. I met him. This is a long time ago, 6 years ago. He used to run a night called Crash and Burn in Hysteria Comedy Club. His name is from Vietnam originally, and he's going back there to live for the foreseeable future. But Nehemiah, we the last Crash and Burn show that he hosted, the comedians who were performing, the Nia said, if you want, you can roast me or whatever. So I had probably had one of the most fun experience. One of the comedians did Nia's material pretty much like basically one of his 2 or 3 stories, but in like Nia's mannerisms and accent, and it was so fun to watch. I nearly lost my voice from listening to it. I very, very, very much enjoyed it. It was so funny. I don't. I'm trying to think when the last time I had that much fun as an audience member, not performing, but as an audience member. But it was the I like the worst, not the worst, but it was one of the weird things was there was basically an audience of about 20 comics. There was 0 reservations for that Crash and Burn, bar one person who happened to be a journalist, and she did not think, because the guy who was doing the Nehemiah impression in the Vietnamese accent was a white guy. He was not Asian, and I think the journalist, who was the audience member, thought it was racism, which it was not. It was comical satire. So hopefully, like I said, this is part of a bulk record. Hopefully, by the time this comes out, that said comedian is not in trouble, because she does write for her published a newspaper called the Dublin Examiner. So, so hopefully nothing bad happens, because the comic in question is a great guy, and like. What impressed me the most was the fact that he remembered so intricate details of Nehemiah's performance. I'm gonna go back to laughing again. It was going to be 10 minutes of laughter for the end of this episode. But no, it was just so good. And it was, while it is a sad thing to lose such, a great friend, I was telling Nia, I was like, I've known you for nearly 6 years. Like I say, yeah, been a while. It's been a fun ride. It's been a while that Nia has been, especially at the start of comedy, giving me a lot of advice about, joke writing and performance and stuff like that. We have done quite a lot of shows together over the years. Nia likes telling, as his fellow podcaster Jack Dolan, actually Nia's podcast Trying Times is linked below in every episode for quite a while at this stage. While I am not a rugby fan per se, I do enjoy the banter when they have fellow comedians that I know that also enjoy rugby. It's just quite fun, and also kind of to learn from a sport that I know nothing about also. But Nia always tells long-winded stories with little payoff, and Jack was saying he was, because he edits the podcast, he goes, I know all of Nia's aneurysms probably more than my girlfriend's. So, he's kind of, the way he talks and stuff like that is just very, very funny. That night was hilarious. It was, like I said, it was bittersweet because Nia is leaving. But, maybe in the future I'll go visit Vietnam and see how things plan out. I have lots of ideas for the future for things like that. So yeah, but yeah, in terms of the Circle Session performance, good, very, very good. Things worked that I tried for a long time to make work, which is great. Happy about that. Hopefully that clap doesn't blow up the fucking computer, because sometimes really loud noises, I don't know what affects it. To be honest, in Warhammer 40,000, each machine has a thing called a machine spirit. So the tech priests, before the machines go to war, whatever they be tanks or planes or whatever, they have to bless it. And I feel like this laptop's fucking machine spirit is just like, I'm not going to do anything. Oh, you have powered me on. Oh, will I execute this task? No. This computer or laptop, or whatever I'm gonna call it, this is an Acer Inspire. This is the newer version of the old one that I had, which The only thing wrong with that computer was the operating system just stopped functioning. Windows, I think, was 9 on that one. It might have been 7. I don't remember this. It just stopped functioning. So I had to rip out the fucking hard drive and reinstall everything. This thing has fucking Windows 10 or 11. I think I was forced to upgrade to 11 because the system said it wouldn't function. I don't know. Look, I'm not good with computers. So this thing fucking annoys me to no end. But like I said, it's €1,000 for a newer version of the next generation of Acer Inspire. And also, I made a little bit of a slight hiccup because this only has 2 cores. So that's why it is very. You ask it to perform more than 2 tasks, and it can because it only has 2 cores. Whereas the other one had 4. I made a fuck up when I bought this, and I should have bought 4 cores because I thought I was going to be using it less. I originally bought this because I was going back to college for education purposes. So this I don't know. I suppose I work this fucking thing more than it. I don't know. It does function, but not really. I would ideally I would prefer if I could run the podcast on a tablet, it would be much more handier, more compact because I have the desk I use is it's even smaller now than before, but it provides more storage space below. So it's why am I talking about desk lap? I don't know. Yeah, so fun times we had. Unfortunately, Nia is going. But then like I said, met new comedians. Uh, Jokes worked. So the other issue with comedy has not been resolved yet because it's part of a bulk record. Hopefully by the time next week's episode comes out, I'll have news on that, or maybe not. I don't know. I'm not really sure what's going to happen in the future, but suppose none of us are, apart from the fortune tellers. But yeah, so I'm gonna wrap this episode up. As per usual, links down below to everything, including Nia's podcast with Jack, Trying Times. It's called Very Fun. If you're a fan of rugby and would like to hear a comedic sports podcast about rugby, an interesting game. A game I've played rugby before, but I used to play a lot of like tag rugby in school, so that'd be kind of my thing. Would have been so it's completely different. Because in school you can't really have full physical rugby contact. It's you could when you can. It's I don't know, strange, but um, what do I don't know. I'm trying to think something might head about something other news that I want to talk about, but I can't really. This, like I said, is the last episode of the bulk record. So after this, there'll be some new news. Hopefully, shed some light on some things that I will have to inquire about, but we'll see. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. As per usual, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I'll see you in the next one or next week's episode. Bye bye.